Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into Web3, specifically looking at what it means, for creators and their communities.
Yeah, and we're working from a great set of materials you sent in. Our aim is to unpack what's really going on here, what the significant shifts are.
Absolutely. So Web3, maybe just a quick refresher on the core ideas.
Sure. So fundamentally, it's about decentralization, moving power away from the big central platforms.
Right.
And it's built on things like blockchain for secure, transparent records.
Ah,
And then you get concepts like NFTs, non-fungible tokens.
unique digital ownership, basically.
Exactly. And DAOs, these decentralized autonomous organizations, new ways for communities to govern themselves. These are kind of the key pieces.
Okay. And this matters because the creator world is just massive now, isn't it?
Oh, huge. You mentioned the figures over 50 million creators, more than a $100 billion market. It's enormous.
But the existing setup, Web2 platforms like YouTube, Instagram, they have their issues.
They definitely do. Creators often feel a lack of control, right?
Mm.
Platforms change the rules, take big cuts of the revenue.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. So the big question our sources explore is how does Web3 maybe offer something different?
Well, a huge promise, and something that comes up again and again in the materials, is this idea of more control, real ownership for the creator.
How does that work in practice? Like with NFTs?
Precisely. NFTs allow creators to verifiably own their digital work. They can set the terms, build direct links with their fans. It's quite different from relying on the platform's connection.
And the money side. This is where it gets really interesting for me. It's not just ads or subscriptions.
No, not at all. The sources highlight things like selling NFTs directly, using fan tokens, even integrating with DeFi, decentralized finance.
Could you give an example like the NFT royalty thing?
Yeah, that's a great one. So imagine you sell a digital artwork as an NFT for, say, $100.
Okay.
Then later, that buyer sells it to someone else for $1,000 because it's become more popular. With NFT royalties built in, you, the original creator, could automatically get a cut of that secondary sale. Maybe 10%, so another $100, just like that.
Wow. So you keep benefiting as your work gains value. That's a game changer compared to Web 2.
It really aligns the creator's success with the community's belief in their work over the long term. And it fosters community too, right?
How so?
Well, Web3 tech makes it easier to build these independent communities, maybe through a DAO or using tokens to grant access to exclusive stuff.
Token gating, yeah.
Exactly. So you're less dependent on just the platform's reach or algorithm. You have a direct community space.
And there's this element of transparency too, I gather, with smart contracts.
That's right. Often the rules for payment for content, they're written into the code itself. These smart contracts make things clearer, more predictable maybe.
So connecting this idea of creators and tech, strong communities seem absolutely essential for Web3 projects to succeed. What makes a Web3 community strong?
Good question. The sources suggest a few key things. Often there's a shared interest in the Web3 tech itself, obviously, but also a common vision or goal, like advancing Web3 in general or really getting behind one specific creator or project. It creates a shared identity.
And communication must be vital, keeping everyone connected.
Totally. Effective communication across different channels, social media, forums, Discord, whatever, works. It keeps the community alive and engaged.
Right.
And collaboration's another big one. Members aren't just passive. They share knowledge, resources, they help each other out, they cooperate.
So it's very active.
Very active, yeah. Participation, events, even just socializing. That level of engagement is really a sign of a healthy, thriving community. It's a massive asset.
Okay, so drilling down on that, why exactly are these communities so critical for creators trying to make it in Web3? It feels like more than just having followers.
Oh, much more. A strong community is powerful. Think about marketing. Your most passionate fans become your best advocates, spreading the word organically.
Word of mouth, basically.
Exactly. Plus, they provide invaluable feedback, real-time input from the people who care most, helping creators improve their work, their products, whatever it is.
That makes sense. Direct feedback loop.
Right. And community support can actually lighten the creator's load too. If members help each other with questions or issues.
It takes some pressure off the creator or their team.
Precisely. It improves the experience for everyone. And sometimes the best ideas, the real innovations, they bubble up for the community.
Like a crowdsourced R&D department?
Kind of. And then there's network effects. The more active, engaged people join, the more valuable the whole project becomes for everybody.
It builds on itself, creates momentum.
Exactly. It's the foundation for long-term growth, for sustainability. It's not just about a quick launch. It's about building something that lasts.
Okay, so building and engaging this kind of community is clearly job one. What are some practical ways creators can actually do that in Web3?
Well, the sources lay out some solid strategies. First off, you need a strong digital presence, obviously.
Yeah.
Be active where your potential community hangs out, social media, forums, relevant community sites.
So visibility.
Yeah, and engagement. Don't just broadcast. Interact. And don't underestimate real-world stuff either.
Like meetups.
Yeah, events, meetups, they build much stronger personal connections. Networking, sharing ideas face-to-face, it's powerful.
And incentives, rewarding early believers.
Definitely. Offering early adopters exclusive benefits, maybe special access or tokens, can really kickstart things and encourage that word-of-mouth growth. Makes people feel valued from the start.
What about managing it all, like day to day?
Good social media use is crucial, but it's more than just posting. It's crafting that online identity, consistently sharing updates, actually talking with people.
And having a central place for everyone.
Absolutely essential. A dedicated hub like a Discord server is very common. It's where the community lives, connects, collaborates.
And being open seems important too. Transparency.
Hugely important. Being transparent about what's happening with a project, being responsive to feedback. That builds trust. It makes the community feel like partners.
Okay, so clear purpose, clear values.
Yes. Communicate why the community exists, what you stand for, and then give people real opportunities to get involved. Forums, events, maybe even volunteer roles.
And finally, recognizing people who contribute.
Yeah, absolutely. Acknowledge contributions, whether it's a shout out or actual perks. It reinforces good behavior and builds loyalty. Makes people feel seen.
Let's make this more concrete. The sources had some great examples, especially for music, right?
They did. RAC is a fascinating case study. The musician, RAC,
What did he do?
he created his own social token, YC. But instead of just selling it, he actually gave a lot of it away to his earliest, most dedicated fans, people who'd been on his mailing list or bought his merch way back.
Oh, interesting. So rewarding past loyalty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And holding the token then unlocked exclusive stuff, early access to music, input on creative decisions, even, potential financial upside as his career grew.
So fans felt truly invested.
Undeniably. The engagement and loyalty he built was apparently remarkable. It's a powerful model.
And avenged sevenfold. They went the NFT route, right?
They did with their Death Bats Club. They created, I think, 10,000 unique NFTs.
And these weren't just JPEGs.
Not at all. These NFTs are like membership passes with serious real-world utility. Things like lifetime free tickets to their shows.
Lifetime tickets. Wow.
Yeah. Backstage access, exclusive merch drops only for holders, even direct messaging with the band.
That's incredible access. It really gives fans a sense of ownership, like being part of an inner circle.
Absolutely. It's that VIP status, but tied to a verifiable digital asset. It totally changes the dynamic from just listening to music to being part of the band's world in a way.
So what's the tech making all this possible? Under the hood.
A few key things. Smart contracts are huge. They automate the agreements. So if you hold the token, you automatically get the perks. It's transparent.
Right. Takes out the manual work and potential disputes.
Exactly. Then there's token gating, which is basically the digital bouncer checking if you have the right token to access exclusive content or spaces.
The VIP pass.
Precisely. And Web3 wallets, of course. Users need those to hold their crypto, their NFTs, their tokens securely. They control their own assets.
And you mentioned blockchain tech is evolving too, making it greener.
Yeah, that's important. Models like Ethereum's move to proof of stake use vastly less energy than older systems, addressing some of those early environmental criticisms.
And things are still changing fast. What are some newer trends popping up?
Oh yeah, it's constantly evolving. The sources mention things like dynamic NFTs.
Dynamic, meaning they change.
Yeah, imagine an NFT that updates based on your interactions. Like maybe your concert ticket NFT gets stamped visually each time you attend a show from that tour.
Cool.
Or fan-powered music creation fans actually influencing what gets released.
Yeah.
Maybe even owning a slice of the royalties.
So fans as co-creators or investors.
Kind of, yeah. Also, token-gated virtual concerts, creating exclusive digital venues. And social impact tokens, artists, using tokens to fund community projects or charities that their fans care about.
Lots of innovation happening, and it sounds like the platforms themselves are shifting too.
Definitely. There's this move away from platforms controlling everything towards ones that supposedly give more power back to creators.
Any examples mentioned?
ReadOn was highlighted, a Web3 reading platform where writers apparently keep ownership and get a much bigger slice of the revenue.
But it's not all smooth sailing, right? There must be challenges for creators moving into this space.
For sure. The tech can still feel complex, a bit intimidating if you're not already deep in it.
Yeah, the learning curve.
Right. And crypto markets can be volatile, affecting income streams. Plus, you might not get the same level of hands-on support you'd get from a big Web2 company. Decentralization has trade-offs.
But the overall vision is compelling.
I think so. The sources really emphasize this potential for a fairer, more transparent, more liberating setup for creators. That's the driving force.
It's interesting, too, how some mainstream artists seem to be adopting the principles of Web3 even without using the specific tech. Taylor Swift comes to mind.
Absolutely. Her whole fight to own her master recordings is pure Web3 ethos, right? Wanting control over your own creation.
Totally.
And then deciding to produce and distribute her concert film herself, cutting out the traditional Hollywood distributors.
Right. Going direct to fan, essentially.
Exactly. Prioritizing fan access, fair pricing. It shows how that community support she has can be leveraged as an alternative to relying on those old gatekeepers. It mirrors the Web3 idea of disintermediation.
And it's not just superstars thinking this way. The sources pulled insights from lots of different creators and Web3 folks, too.
Yeah, a real range. People talk about how smartphones just lower the barrier. Now anyone can start creating.
Democratization of content.
And building deeper, longer-lasting relationships with audiences across different platforms, not just being siloed.
Opportunities beyond just brand deals, too.
Yeah, more diverse ways to build a career. Someone mentioned the financialization of everything, with ownership at the core. That's a very Web3 idea.
Interesting phrase.
Also, new tools emerging that try to connect familiar Web2 engagement tactics with Web3 loyalty mechanics, bridging the gap.
And even experimenting with different kinds of tokens.
Right, playing with fungibility as a distribution method.
Yeah.
Lots of experimentation happening.
Okay, so lots of potential, lots of experimentation. But what are the big roadblocks still for wider adoption?
Well, user experience is still a big one. Managing keys, dealing with crypto. It's not quite seamless for the average person yet.
That's to be easier.
Definitely. There's still a risk of platform lock-in, even in Web3, different blockchains or ecosystems that don't talk to each other easily.
Right, the walled garden problem again.
Could be. The tech itself needs to mature further scalability, better interfaces, and there's always a risk that things become centralized again, just in new ways.
And what about things like safety, moderation?
That's a huge challenge in decentralized systems. How do you handle harmful content or bad actors without a central authority? It's a tricky balance between freedom and safety.
So taking a step back, what's the really big picture here? What's the fundamental shift Web3 represents for creators and communities?
I think fundamentally it's about rewriting the relationship between creators and fans. It goes way beyond just new ways to make money. It's about changing how they interact, enabling truly direct monetization, finding new ways to reward loyalty, and ultimately letting creators build sustainable careers more independently. Less reliance on the traditional gatekeepers.
And to the fans.
It's a chance to be more than just passive consumers, to become active participants, maybe even stakeholders, in the success of the creators and communities they care about.
This has been, a really fascinating deep dive. It's clear Web3 offers some really significant potential for creators. More control, new community tools, different ways to earn a living.
Absolutely. And, while the challenges are real, and we shouldn't ignore them, the possibility of a more equitable, more creator-focused digital world is, well, it's pretty powerful.
Definitely something driving a lot of this innovation.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. As you go about your day, think about those core ideas we discussed: ownership, community, direct engagement. How might they reshape your own experiences online? Even beyond crypto and NFTs specifically, how might these principles change the way you connect with creators, with communities? It's definitely something worth mulling over as this digital landscape keeps changing.
A great thought to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.